Hello guys. So, as I mentioned in my introduction video, I will be doing my presentation on anorexia. Now we all know that anorexia affects, if not hundreds of thousands of individuals every year. Individuals that we may be associates with or we think we know may be suffering from this, and it's not as easy as we think because we don't suffer from it to announce it to the world. Even though we look at it as it's easy to get out of the habit, it's difficult because the individual thinks they're too fat. I've watched movies, I've had friends that have gone through this, and it's been a tough time for them. There's really not the perfect amount of words to say to them to make them feel any better. They can be as skinny as a light pole, and they think it's just too much. As anorexia being under an umbrella of an effect on individuals, it goes for different diseases, as far as bulimia, depression, bipolar. All these things has to do with the brain. So today with my presentation, it's a little bit based on a movie that I've watched called Dying to Dance, which I do recommend you guys watch. It's an older movie that was made back in 2001, but it's a perfect example of my presentation, explaining how a young woman wanted to be a ballerina. She first got in, she thought she had it. There were amount of hands-on, maybe like 10 people that they had chosen out of hundreds and thousands of girls that wanted to be part of it. She had started out, they had done the weighing. They weighed her, and she was about 104 pounds. Everybody else was 96, 98, 97, and she was 104. She looked as small as the other girls, but she weighed more. That had an effect on her later on when she was a little slower in the dancing. She couldn't pick up as fast as the other girls. She thought that this was time for her to really show that she was not a mistake So, for the DSM-5 diagnosis, those are the books that have come out every year, or ever so often they update it. Anorexia. According to DSM-5 criteria, to be diagnosed as having anorexia, a person must display a few of these: persistent restriction of energy intake leading to significantly low body weight, which is expected for age, sex, developmental, physical health, disturbance in one's way for the body to be shaped, as experienced, undue influence of body shape and weight on self-evaluation, lack of recognition of seriousness of the current low body weight, not acknowledging that maybe you're looking too slim, or maybe your bones, your ribs are popping out of your skin, looking pale, progress and patterns of anorexia. Anorexia is one of the 3 major eating disorders in the U.S. It's very life-threatening. Of course, it's caused by self-starvation and weight loss. The continuous progress of trying to be as thin as possible for one's eye to see that they're satisfied with how their body looks. Let's see. Anorexia means loss of appetite. People who suffer from anorexia are usually hungry. They tend to refuse food. I mean, we did an online class, so we obviously did not meet each other. But I could tell you that if I'm hungry, it's not a good thing. And I'm sure we all seen the Snickers commercial when someone's hungry, they turn into a diva or a superstar that's irritated with the help. It's being hungry changes the whole mind perspective. So imagine being hungry and forcing yourself not to eat. I can just imagine how painful that is. But setting yourself to believe that you're okay with not eating because you have to make sure your body is a certain way. People who are at risk of this disorder are usually high achievers. They are the ones that do well in school, work, sports, and extra activities. These are the ones that participate in extracurricular activities. These are the ones that always want to get first place in sport activities. It's pretty real. The eating disorder usually begins around puberty in teens, but it can develop at any time. Anorexia is more common in females, of course, than males. The symptoms of anorexia. Again, significant weight loss, distorted body image, feelings of guilt after eating, denial of low weight, high levels of anxiety and or depression. Health complications, anemia, poor circulation in hands and feet, muscle loss and weakness, including the heart, dehydration, kidney failure. In the movie that I discussed, Dying to Dance, she ended up in the hospital numerous times, dehydrated, pale, just because she wanted to attain that certain body weight. Social, cultural, professions and careers that promote being thin and having the perfect body, which is the pressure from social media. Social media is one of the most, I don't even know the word to use. Social media is the one that draws everybody's attention to themselves. Like, do I look like that? Or am I that fat? Or does she look better than me? Social media, if it's not Instagram, if it's not Snapchat, if it's not Twitter, if it's not even just the news, it draws your attention to look at your own body image. This is one of the factors that leads people to anorexia. Dancing cultures, portrayal of being thin, modeling. Just recently now, being a plus size model is in. Before, you had to be a certain way. You couldn't be, if you were even a pound over, you were too fat. The psychological, in spite of achievements, still feels not good enough. You can be the top, but to yourself, if you're not satisfied, and whatever anybody says, doesn't matter. Treatments. Identify and help with the negative feelings that contribute to eating disorders. Careful attention to medical and nutritional needs. Inpatient care. Treatment where calorie intake is controlled, help gain weight, treat malnourishment, and dehydration. In the movie, they encouraged her to gain weight, but she listened to the doctor. She'd go home and she'd do the exact opposite. So the quote that I have in parentheses says, "Dance and dieted herself to the hospital." That's what she basically did. She didn't want. Okay, people with anorexia don't usually let people know because they don't want people to look at them any type of way. But that's the way they're feeling. That's what they're going through. So there's so much you can say to an individual with anorexia. What I do recommend is counseling to help the person improve their relationships with people so they'll be able to be more open. The cognitive behavior therapy, eliminate the thoughts and beliefs that create the problem. Help gain understanding of the eating control. Let the person know that they're a completely different individual. They're perfect the way they are. Let them know that their self-image is maybe what somebody else is looking for. Increase the frequency of care. A strong support system. You must support. Even if you don't understand, you could research. But it's important to understand and help the person. Our message, the positives, is the movie showcased and examined how eating disorders affected ballerinas. The movie tackles the effects that body image have on young women. The negatives, it focused on the external image instead of the inner health, lack of professionalism, being competitive between the dancers, and encouraging the disorder. There's the clip, the YouTube clip, for you guys to take a look at. It's a clip that I found on YouTube about a young girl's story. It's about 2.5 minutes long. And that is all. Thank you very much, guys.